Your Skinstructors tip of the week. If your clients aren't consistent with sunscreen, it's usually not a knowledge problem. It could be a behavioral problem. Start asking better questions during your consultations. Instead of, are you wearing SPF? Ask, walk me through your morning routine. That's where the gaps show. That's where you find out if they're applying enough, skipping reapplication, or relying on makeup alone. When you understand their real habits, you can recommend something they'll actually use, and that's what creates results.
Welcome back to the Skinstructors. I'm
And
Morgan.
I'm Jolie.
And today we're breaking down one of the most talked about and honestly misunderstood topics in skincare sunscreen. Not just wear your SPF, but how it actually works, the differences between mineral, chemical, and hybrid formulas, and why so many clients still aren't getting the protection they think they need.
Because this is one of those topics where there's a lot of noise, social media opinions, fear-based marketing, ingredient shaming, and clients are confused.
Exactly. I cannot wait to dive into these topics.
I know.
Today, we're cutting through all of that and giving you the science, the strategy, and the real life application so you can confidently guide your clients.
So let's start with what we're actually protecting against, and that's UV radiation. Because once you understand this part, everything about sunscreen is going to make a lot more sense. So you've got UVA and UVB, and both of those rays matter because they affect the skin, or they can affect the skin a little differently. UVB is the one most people are more familiar with because they refer to this as like causing sunburn. This is your burning ray. And it's more intense, it's a little bit more immediate, and it primarily affects the surface of the skin, which is the epidermis.
Yeah, and UVB intensity is going to fluctuate too. It's strongest during those peak sun hours, especially in the summer months, and that's what people feel. That's why clients associate sun damage with burning. But here's where it gets deeper, literally. UVA penetrates further into the skin, actually reaching the dermis. And this is where we see that collagen and elastin. So, this is where that long term damage actually happens. So, think premature aging, loss of elasticity, fine lines, and pigmentation.
And UVA is constant, it's present all day, all year, regardless of weather. It goes through clouds, it goes through windows, and it's there even when clients think they're not in the sun.
Which is why we see so much cumulative damage over time. Clients aren't necessarily getting burned every day, but they are getting exposed every day.
And both UVA and UVB contribute to skin cancer, but just in some different ways. UVB tends to be more directly linked to DNA damage that leads to burns, while UVA contributes to deeper cellular damage and long-term mutation risk.
Now let's layer in something that most clients don't fully understand, the UV index. The UV index is a scale that tells you how strong the sun's UV radiation is at a given time and location. It typically ranges from 0 to 11 plus, with higher numbers meaning a greater risk of damage in a shorter amount of time.
So when you see a UV index of, let's say, 2 or 3, that's considered low to moderate. But once you start getting into 6, 7, 8, and above, that's high to very high exposure, and protection becomes critical.
And what's important here is that the higher the UV index, the faster that damage is going to occur. So a client might burn in 20 minutes on a moderate day, but only 10 minutes on a high UV day.
Which brings us to how SPF is actually calculated, because this is another area where there's a lot of misunderstanding.
SPF, or that sun protection factor, is based on how long it would take your skin to burn if you had sunscreen on compared to if you don't. So, for a simple example, if a fair skin client would normally burn after 10 minutes of unprotected sun exposure and they apply an SPF of 15, you multiply that time. So, 10 minutes times SPF 15 equals 150 minutes of protection.
And that's under ideal conditions. That's assuming they've applied enough
Mhm.
evenly and they're not sweating, swimming, or touching their face.
Exactly. And that's where real life comes in because most clients aren't applying enough product and they're definitely not reapplying consistently.
And when it comes to skin tone, darker skin does have more natural protection due to higher melanin levels. So, in that same example, they might experience closer to double that time before burning.
But that doesn't mean they're protected from damage. That's such an important distinction.
Absolutely. They may not burn as quickly, but UVA damage is still happening. Collagen breakdown, pigmentation, long term cellular damage, all of that is still occurring.
So, sunscreen isn't just about preventing burns, it's about preventing everything that's happening underneath the surface that clients don't immediately see.
And this is where your role becomes so important, helping clients understand that protection isn't just about how their skin reacts in the moment, but what's happening long term.
Now, let's get into how different types of sunscreens actually work because this is where a lot of misinformation happens. So, chemical sunscreens work by absorbing the UV radiation and converting it into heat, which is then released from the skin.
And a great example of this is ZO Skin Health Daily Sheer SPF 50. It's lightweight, it's elegant on the skin, and it's designed for people who want something that feels invisible.
Mhm.
These formulas tend to be more cosmetically elegant, which is why a lot of clients are more consistent with them.
Then we have our mineral sunscreens. So these use ingredients like zinc oxide or titanium dioxide to reflect and scatter that UV radiation away from the skin surface.
Skin Better Science's Tone Smart SPF is a perfect example. It gives that tone adapting coverage, it gives a little bit of a cosmetic finish, and it's great for clients who want something that doubles as a light coverage while still protecting their skin.
And then you're going to see that hybrid formulas are starting to pop up.
Yeah.
They combine both mechanisms and they absorb and reflect UV radiation.
So, SkinCeuticals Clear Daily Soothing SPF is a great example of that.
Mhm.
You're getting the benefits of both worlds, cosmetic elegance and broad spectrum protection while being mindful of skin sensitivity and it blending seamlessly.
And this is where we need to address some of the biggest misconceptions.
The idea that chemical sunscreens are toxic is one of the
Mhm.
biggest ones we hear.
Mhm.
Clients come in scared, thinking that they're doing harm by using them.
It's because of the word chemical.
Yeah,
Same with like chemical peels. They're like, no, I don't want
totally.
that.
Totally.
The reality is that approved sunscreen filters are regulated and they're tested. The bigger issue is when clients avoid sunscreen altogether because they're afraid of ingredients.
And on the flip side, mineral sunscreens get labeled as the better option across the board, but that's not always the case for every client.
Exactly. If it leaves a white cast or if it feels heavy or if it pills under makeup and your client stops using it, that's not better.
No, compliance is always the priority.
Now let's talk about labels for a second. SPF, PA rating, and broad spectrum. SPF is going to refer to the protection against UVB, the burning rays.
PA ratings are more common in Asian sunscreens and refer to UVA protection, which is critical for aging and deeper damage.
And then broad spectrum means that the product is protecting against both the UVA and the UVB. And that's what we want clients using on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And you're going to be seeing now a lot of these formulas have a mix of all three of these ratings. Now, let's talk about the bigger issue reapplication. Because what's ideal and what clients actually do are very different.
Very different.
I have also, done my part in not following my own rules in this and have gotten burned.
Amen, sister. Feel that. Yeah, in a perfect world, you're reapplying every 2 hours. But in reality, most clients really only apply it in the morning and that's it.
So we have to meet them where they are. Powder SPFs, sticks, compacts, these are tools that make reapplication more realistic.
And this is where layering comes in too. So, sunscreen goes on as the final step of skincare before your makeup. Then, throughout the day, they can reapply over makeup using more practical formats.
So let's talk about matching sunscreen to client because this is where you really elevate your recommendations. And acne prone clients usually do better with a lightweight, non comedogenic, and often chemical or hybrid formulas.
Rosacea or sensitive clients may prefer mineral or soothing hybrid options that are less likely to cause irritation.
And oily clients need something that doesn't feel greasy. So gel based, matte finishes, or powders are typically best.
And then if you have dry or aging skin clients, they're going to benefit more from hydrating formulas that sit very comfortable on their skin throughout the day.
And this isn't a perfect science to that. Again, it's really about what your client's actually going to
Hmm.
use every day.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the most important parts of this conversation, why sunscreen fails.
Well, it fails more often than clients realize, and it's not always the product, it's how it's used.
Application amount is a big one. Most clients are under applying. They're using half of what they actually need to get the labeled SPF protection. So, for instance, if your SPF is in your makeup, you would need like at least 7 layers of that foundation to get the recommended SPF usage.
I think that's a great point to share with
Yeah.
your clients. Like, so many clients come in and they're like, "Oh, yeah,
It's in
I
my
have
makeup.
it's in my makeup."
Yeah.
Yeah. Timing matters too. So chemical sunscreens need time to absorb before sun exposure. So if your client's applying it and walking straight outside, they're not going to be fully protected.
And then behavior, skipping reapplication, sweating, swimming, touching their face, all that breaks down protection throughout the day.
So even the best sunscreen won't work if it's not used correctly.
Which brings us back to your role as the provider. It's not just recommending a product, it's teaching your client how to use it in a way that best fits their life.
Because you always hear the best sunscreen is the one you'll use and reapply.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up with your homework for the week. I want you to start having more detailed SPF conversations with your clients. Ask them to walk you through exactly how they use their sunscreen, when, how much, and how often.
Then just your recommendations based on their lifestyle. If they're not going to reapply a lotion, give them a powder
Hmm.
or a stick. If they hate the feel of sunscreen, find one they'll actually enjoy using.
And start being really intentional about matching their sunscreen to their skin type and behavior, not just handing out the same recommendation to everyone.
Absolutely. If you want to build more confidence in your consultations and create real compliance with your clients, make sure you subscribe to our monthly subscription, the Skinstructors Extra Credit at www.sttraining.com.
That's where we go deeper into topics just like this and help you become the kind of provider your clients trust long term. And it's still my birthday month, so if you want to take advantage of our promo, happy birthday in the promo code and you'll get your first month for free. It's only $5.
Yep. Details will be in the show notes. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at SD Training.
And as always, don't hesitate to educate.